This is going to be a little bit of a different video for me. Normally I just post videos of gameplay, kind of real time on the Stratos SMP, but I wanted to do a video on this mining bore that I made. This is something that I completed up a little bit ago, but just never got the time to make a video on. This was originally inspired by El Mango's 1.15 industrial mining machine. I actually built his version of it on a Bedrock server and then tried to figure out how to change all the circuits over. It turns out that's not really a good way to go. If you try to do stuff like that, I'd encourage you not to. Just start from scratch. The concept is kind of the same, however. The idea behind this is I wanted a bore that I could activate from both sides. It would run the length of it, and then reverse action if you engaged it from the other side. The focus on this was ancient debris or overworld diamond mining or something like that. Launch the TNT, and then you could run down, mine what you want, come over here on the other side, activate it from this side, and it would just reverse completely. There are mirrored delayed engines on both sides. These are engines that I designed, but I incorporated an idea that was shown to me off of Billy, with this delay circuit here. You can kind of see it. I stood it up on end, doubled it up, and kind of wrapped it in a ball. I was actually pretty happy with how small this ended up being. This is the entirety of the delay here. The obsidian's just to hold it back if you copy and paste this, but yeah, actually turned out pretty well. So 2 engines mirrored either side, and then the chain in the center. There was input from both TechCarft and LucaF, if I'm not mistaken, on the final design on these. I originally had redstone block design, but pointed out it was pretty expensive. Switched it over to observers. It's a pretty good idea. If you watch this little section here with these 4 blocks running down is single step advance. Your first output here is your honey chain, which will dispense TNT. TNT sits on top of the honey. And then after the necessary delay, all wraps around through here, comes out. Here's your second output that will hit this guy and start your slime chain, which will then launch the TNT. So first output, honey chain, delay. Second output, advance, honey. Overall, I was pretty happy with how this turned out. I have one built up in the nether that we can go take a look at real quick. You can kind of see it in action, see the area that it excavates. Netherrack has such a low blast resistance that it actually makes a decent sized area. One thing that is worth mentioning, that Blackstone is the worst. Absolutely hate Blackstone. So anytime that you're using something like this, whether it's a world eater, a tunnel bore, anything like that, you come across pockets of Blackstone, best policy is just to remove all of it. In this case, the main risk that you have with this particular tunnel bore is that it will have the chance of blowing up honey on the face of it. The Blackstone, if you've got it farther out than the rest of your wall, the TNT can hit the Blackstone and stop short of where it would normally fall to, and your explosion can possibly damage the machine. So just good policy, remove any Blackstone that you come across. But yeah, the original focus of this was for netherite mining, or ancient debris mining, excuse me. And I was pretty astonished at how much ancient debris there is on Bedrock Edition. It's actually fairly prolific. But it can be used overworld, like I said. It's not hard to build. You can kind of run these 2 chains, the one with the slime and the one with the honey, and then build everything from there. The engine is the hardest part, and making sure that you got both lined up. Worst case scenario, you build it a little farther back and then advance it forward until you're engaged with the chain. This chain down here is just what activates the far engine. So if I engage this here, we run down here real quick. We'll erase the honey chain here. When the honey chain advances, it pulls this chain, which pushes an observer into that single step engine and starts the far chain, which will then advance at a slight delay, and it won't trigger anything. So the chain moves forward, or the engine moves forward, but it doesn't touch the chain. Got it timed just right. So anyway, that is the machine. I'm thinking that instead of doing a block by block tutorial, I'm just going to make this world download available. I'm not the most concerned person in the world when it comes to designs being stolen. I get so much input from other people when I'm building these types of things that I can't claim this as a singular design of my own. TechCarft and Luca both had quite a bit of input on this one, so it's definitely a collaborative effort. But if you want to take the world download, build it yourself in your world, whatever, if you end up putting out variations of it or something, feel free to tag me. I'd love to see what improvements can be made. One thing I will mention is that this can be built in such a way that you don't use so much honey, because I know honey can be a hard commodity to find. You can build a second slimestone chain down underneath and then have the dispenser sitting on top of it, also dispensing vertically. So the TNT will be dispensed vertically on top of, if your dispenser was here, it would just dispense vertically and it would be in the same position as if it was dispensed through the honey. So if you don't have honey, you can still build this machine and get rid of most of the honey on it. I think you still might need a little bit in other areas, but if you don't have a lot of it, then there's ways to reduce it. So anyway, I think that'll be it for this little short video. I appreciate you watching.